It's Tech Talk here, live from the back of the exhibit hall at ITEXPO 2017. I am Mo Nagle, web editor from TMC, joined by Daniel Lonstein from Airespring. How are you?
I'm pretty good, thanks, Mo.
So, for those out there who are not familiar with Airespring, could you give us a little overview?
Sure. We are a pretty full-service provider. Been around for almost 16 years now. So, one of the longer surviving providers out there. Still privately held. It's a family-run business. Myself and my brothers run the business. We are a CLEC, inter-exchange carrier. We do managed services. So, pretty much focus on business customers, mid-size enterprise customers. Let's say 10 to 1,500 locations, something that range. Provide anything from voice, traditional T1 PRIs, hosted PBX. We have a cloud contact center product, MPLS, SD-WAN, new product we've released recently. We still do a lot of long distance as well.
Sure. So that's a very busy space, to say the least.
Sure.
How do you differentiate yourself from the competition?
It's actually, I think, getting easier than ever because of the recent consolidation. So, Earthlink, about to be swallowed up by Windstream.
Yep.
We have EXO with Verizon. There are not a lot of those mid-sized players left who really focus on that space. So, traditionally we've gone into that mid-sized space and said, look, instead of going directly to one of the huge Marble offspring, who really, let's face it, your 100 locations doesn't mean that much to them, or your 50 locations, whatever it is. You're big for us, but you're nothing to them. So that's been our space. That's, rather be a big fish in a small pond. We're going to give you that level of service, that level of personal care. We're going to assign you a personal account team, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the people who can do that are disappearing. And so I think that's actually makes our job easier than ever in going out and making the case and saying, hey, who else is left for you to go? There's really a handful of players who do what we do, and it's shrinking every day. The major ones are gone. So I think for companies in that space who want a managed network, managed solution, want to work with a vendor who's going to give them that level of care that they're not going to get from a major player, I think it's actually easier than ever for us, and getting easier.
Sure. So talk to me a little bit about what you're showcasing this week at the show.
So, we just did a big SD-WAN. Nobody's mentioned that, I'm sure, before me at the show. I'm the first person to discuss SD-WAN.
What's SD-WAN?
Yeah, exactly. So, we have a vendor-neutral strategy. So we currently have relationships with VeloCloud, with Mushroom. There's a few others that are in the works that I can't quite mention on camera. But, so our strategy is going to be more about, we will deploy the solution that makes sense for each individual customer, depending where their locations are, international or domestic, depending what services they need, what kind of pricing, what the bandwidth requirements are. One of those vendors is going to be better. So we years ago came out with a product called Airespring MPLS Mesh. MPLS Mesh allows us to, we have NNIs with multiple MPLS vendors, and allows us to deploy multiple MPLS end links, but tie it together in our core. We're like the glue that ties it together. So for a customer who's got, let's say, 100 locations, we can put 30 on AT&T, 30 on Verizon, 30 on, and go on from there. But we can tie it together. They don't have to be with a single vendor. So I think of SD-WAN as the next level. It's the next level of mesh on top of our existing mesh. So we already can do multiple MPLS vendors. Now we're able to add SD-WAN on top of that with whichever provider makes sense for a particular customer, and allow them to do that, extend their MPLS network, or potentially replace. I mean, currently customers are coming to us and saying, I'm not ready to throw my MPLS network out immediately, but I have these new sites, let's test it on these new sites, or remote sites, or some international sites. Let's use SD-WAN over there. We have the SD-WAN gear in our core, so we're able to traverse from our MPLS core to the SD-WAN and allow that to stick together, whereas if they go and just buy it themselves, that's not as easy to do.
So what are you expecting to take away from ITEXPO 2017?
Well, we have a booth here. We're obviously an exhibitor. We hope to get a lot of prospects, a lot of potential channel. I mean, we are a channel-focused company. 95+% of all of our sales come through the channel. So we're here really to meet our existing and potential channel partners, and really make the case that I just said is, I think the options in the space are decreasing, and we think that's good for us, so we want to be your player for that.
So to close, I've got to ask you,
Sure.
long after the doors to ITEXPO shut,
Okay.
and I'm back in cold, dark, dreary Connecticut.
Okay. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate,
Okay.
which is under, 6 to 8 inches of snow right now.
At least.
Yes. And Airespring comes to mind. What do you want that first thought to be that runs through my head?
I want the first thought to be, if you have a customer who's a mid-size business customer, Airespring would be the provider I would take them to, because they've been around a long time, they've been doing it a long time, and they're going to take care of this customer in a way that almost no other vendor is.
Awesome. Thanks for your time. Appreciate you taking a few minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.